everyone. Welcome to the Fabulous Women Podcast Studio. I am Kim Allen, your host, and this is where everyone comes to meet amazingly fabulous women from all different industries and walks of life. And the reason why I do this is that I love women and I support women and I promote women. So I do that. This is my contribution for impactful women and why I bring them on board. So we have a really special guest today. I want to welcome Dr. Marcy Roan. Marcy, welcome. Should I call you Marcy or Dr. Marcy?
You can call me whatever you want. Either is fine. Either
Okay.
is fine. And thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. I just said in a previous episode that a lot of my audience, they may not realize that I get to speak to my guests in advance, and I know so much about them. So I'm excited because I know what's coming. So we're very excited. All right. So the name of today's episode is Too Young to Retire, Too Qualified to Hire: The Unseen Struggles of Women at the Top. Marcy, we were just talking about this almost right up to when the episode began. I don't hear anyone talking about this. So maybe we're going to start a movement. How's that?
I hope so.
I love that. Okay. Marcy, before we begin, is it okay if I just set the stage by letting everyone know your background?
Sure.
Okay. So Dr. Marcy is a heavy hitter, very, very heavy hitter. She's formerly a chief academic officer. She was a school leadership coach, a principal, an assistant principal. She has her doctorate degree in educational leadership from UNCG, which is University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And also, is that... That's fine. Let the dog have fun.
Nobody can walk by our house.
What kind of dog do you
have? I have a lab. I have two of them, actually.
Stop it. What colors?
Yeah. Yellow and black.
Oh my gosh. I hope my daughter's not watching this. She's got a yellow. It's actually red. She lives in Denmark. They have red labs. Not that you care. She wants a black one. So anyway, well, you know what? I love labs. We had one for 14 years. So we are so off track already, but it's fine.
Yes.
All right. So you're a two-time author, and you're a second-time author as of just a couple of days ago, correct?
Yes. Yes. My second book just released on the 10th, so Monday.
Okay. So tell me the name of the book.
Stronger Schools by Design: Moving from Compliance to Collective Collaboration.
Okay. So why did you write this book, and where can everyone find it and buy it?
You can find it on Amazon, and I wrote it. It's an extension of my first book, which is Learning Rounds with Teachers, Building Reflective Practitioners. Okay. And as a school leader, one of the most impactful things that I found to help support continued growth in my buildings is a practice of learning rounds or instructional rounds, or, going around the school and watching what's happening, kind of like the medical field. And what they do with patients is walking around and talking about how the learning is happening. And that's a practice that I honed in on as a school principal and as a leadership coach. And then as chief academic officer, I did it at the district level. So the first book is about kind of the school level approach. Right. And then the second book is geared more towards those with multiple schools or at a district level.
Wow. Oh, I'm sure that everyone wants to read that because it's so useful. I mean, your titles are so detailed. That's what I love about it. It's not like, hey, it's about schools. I mean, it reminds me of a doctoral dissertation, right? To be really long. I love that.
I like to be specific.
Well, that's great. And I'm sure you're so great at what you do. So first of all, I want to wish you all the best with both of your books.
Thank you.
Right. I think it's very exciting. All right. Is it okay if we get into the questions?
Sure.
Okay. So the first set of questions that I have for everyone falls into the bucket of Dr. Marcy's background. So you've had such an incredible career in education, 26 years. I'm sorry, but you don't look old enough to do anything for 26 years. I've got to say that. 26 years of leadership, 2 books, and transformative work. What first inspired you to lead schools and help others grow, Dr. Marcy?
So I think it's a personal journey for me. I had, when I first started teaching in the public school system, now I got it going on. Hang on.
Okay, everyone, we're waiting for Dr. Marcy to take care of her two labs, her yellow lab and her black lab. Always forgiven because I know they're wonderful dogs. Okay.
God bless. It's the delivery guys.
Oh,
It's yeah. Okay.
all right.
So it's been a personal journey for me. I came to North Carolina to teach from northeastern Pennsylvania. So I started in the classroom. I was new to the state, new to the standards, new to the school, new to the town, everything. And I was assigned a mentor who was really good at coaching me in and out of the classroom and just really being a support for me as I navigated everything. And okay, hang on.
Okay. So while Marcy is tending to her yummy yellow and black lab, what we're talking about is her incredible education, her educational career, 26 years of leadership, and she has two books, and she just talked about one, and her transformative work. And what I'm asking her is what first inspired her to lead schools and help others grow? So she's back again, and we are now going to continue with that question about what inspired her to lead schools and help others grow.
And this is why I can't get a work from home job.
Yes. You need a
So
dog.
yeah. So my mentor and coach that I had as a beginning teacher was really foundational in helping me to just really be the best I could be.
Mhm.
And each position that I've had in the educational sector, I've had good mentors, and I've had mentors and coaches since that time, and it just really resonates with me
Mm.
when I've had those good foundational relationships that have
Right.
helped me grow.
Okay.
So that's really why I want to do that for others, because I know what the difference is. I
Right.
know what it can do.
Right. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that perspective. All right. So your chief academic officer position was cut. So can you take us back to the moment you learned that the position was going away, and what went through your mind, Dr. Marcy?
Wow. So I had no idea that this was even a possibility.
Mm.
Like many districts during this time and during the summertime before budgets are released for the following year, there's always a discussion with boards and internally as to what can we do
Mhm.
to help save money. And but in those conversations, it was never a reorganization of central office or position cuts or anything like that at the central office level.
Right.
So when I was invited to a meeting with my superintendent, it was in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, and I walked into the office and was told that due to budget, my position was going to be cut and my contract wasn't going to be renewed.
Mm.
Um, I didn't have much to say in that moment because I was so taken aback.
Right.
Because again, there was no conversation around that. I didn't even know it was a possibility that this was going to happen.
Right. Right.
So in that moment, I mean, it was a 30-second. I can't even call it a conversation because it was, due to budget and that we're experiencing, your position's going to be cut and we're not going to renew your contract. Any questions?
Mm.
And I said no. And I left. And going back to those coaches and those mentors that I've had, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I've always gotten is you never give news like that in the middle of the day
Yeah.
or in the middle of the week,
Right.
because you want to give people time to process.
Right.
And I had no time to process. I had to go back up to my office and try to figure out how to get through the rest of the day and then
Yeah.
try to get through the rest of the week.
Right.
So it was a really hard time. And I having to keep everything in check during the day was very it was intentional on my part. I
Mm.
refused
Right. Right.
to
Yeah.
So,
I mean, let's file that situation under what not to do ever. Right. That's really
right.
unbelievable. So, all right. So you were in shock. So let's move on to the next bucket, which is the shock and the aftermath. Because I'm still shocked that you heard that in that fashion. So, how did it feel to suddenly be faced with semi-retirement when you were at the height of your career? Everyone,
Yeah.
I want to tell you that Dr. Marcy's young. Okay, so this is not someone who's 70. Okay, not she's a child, really. She really is.
Well,
But she's at the height of her career as a chief academic officer.
yeah, I appreciate that. The aftermath, it ebbed and flowed. You know, there's very much a period of disbelief. Like, I don't believe this is happening. Something's going to change, and they'll come back to me and it'll be like, oh, we don't have to do that after all.
Right.
You know, but then as time went on, because they gave me some notice prior to the end of my contract, so I had some time while still in the job,
right,
to kind of process and think about what was next.
Right.
You know, so I went through periods where I thought something was going to change and something was going to shift, and it would all be okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I also started searching while I was still working.
Right.
And you know, at that time, I thought I'm at the height of my career. I've had so many different positions. I've worked for our State Department. I've worked in schools at several levels. I've coached all 3 levels. I've done I've had some experiences that make me uniquely qualified for a lot of positions. So I didn't think I would have trouble finding a position until I couldn't.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and as the end of my contract came closer, the more anxious I became. You know, and what happens in education is when people tell you your contract's not being renewed, the advice that's given is go ahead and resign, because in North Carolina, you have to disclose that your contract's not being renewed when you go to future employment.
Right.
And I had several people, including my supervisors and those at the same level as myself, ask me why I wasn't going to resign. And I told them I don't need to. Why should I? This is not, you know, this. If I resign, then it shows that this was my choice.
Absolutely.
And it's not. You know. So, and at the end of the day, given budget and every other reason why the position wasn't being continued, at the end of the day, mine was the only position affected. You know, I was told that it wasn't for performance issues, and it couldn't have been, because I'd never received any kind of performance feedback
like that,
or any performance feedback.
Right. That would warrant your job to be eliminated.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, so then I just started to think that there was probably something else going on that maybe didn't have anything to do with me, but it impacted me on some level. Then once my contract ended and I ended up, you know, in my house full time with my dogs, you know, the days started to wear on. At first, it was really hard because I wasn't used to not being busy. I wasn't, you know, education's a busy place. I don't care what position you're in.
Right.
And I went from that to nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't initially, my first response was not retirement, because in the state of North Carolina, if you retire early, then, which is what I had, I didn't have 30 years and I wasn't old enough to retire with full benefits without 30 years.
Right.
If you retire early, there's a significant financial impact for that. So that wasn't my first choice. My first choice was to find other employment. And then, you know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, I started thinking, I can't sustain this. I don't have the funds to be able to just not work. So I put in for early retirement with the state of North Carolina, and took that financial hit. And that's, you know, that's where I am, is, you know, I have early retirement, so I can't actively do anything in schools right now for at least 6 months. All I can do is look, and apply to positions.
Yes. I just want to take a moment here, Marcy, and say that first of all, I'm just so sorry that this happened, because this is recent. This didn't happen a year ago. This is brand new for you. And this must be so very hard for you. And I don't know if people acknowledge that, but
I think you were the first one that acknowledged that for me, that, people are very kind, and I think it's kind of hard to know what to say when you don't know what's happening. I got told a lot, well, you'll find something. You're a really highly qualified candidate. You'll get something. Something will come along.
Right.
And when something doesn't come along, or with each subsequent position that you've employed for, and they've gone with another candidate, people are like, well, that just wasn't right for you. The right job is on the way. And there's only so much you can hear of that before you're just like, is it?
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, the title, I hope everyone's paying attention to the title of this. Again, you're way too young to retire, and you're so qualified to hire. And again, I'm going to say it again, it's the unseen struggles of women at the top. You did talk a little bit about the impact of emotionally and financially and professionally. Can you talk about the financial part? And this is not revealing anything, but you did say to me that when you're forced to retire early after you've been in these very high roles, which I never heard anyone break it down to, this will, and I'll use the number that you gave me, okay? That this will affect your retirement to the tune of at least $2,000 a month for the rest of your life. That's a lot of money if you're counting on and $2,000 is not a lot of money. It's a lot of money when you retire that will be there.
Right. So, yes. So I'm 54, and I
retired. She's a baby. Go ahead.
And so I retired with essentially, when you take my years of service and my accrued leave and all of that kind of stuff, with 27 years. So I am 3 years away from full retirement. And in full retirement benefits. And in North Carolina, when you retire early, you only get a portion of what you would get in full retirement. And your retirement is based on your highest years. Right. And that's not highest years in terms of position, although sometimes obviously they align. It's your highest income producing years. Right. And so even if I went back and didn't do anything that gave me the salary that I lost, I was still leaving. And this is what my retirement person said to me when she filed my paperwork. She said, I just want you to realize that even if you didn't make any more money than what you made in your previous role, and you waited until you found something, and then got those last 3 years back, which I can still do. She said, you are leaving $2,000 a month on the table. And even to hear it that way from another female was hard, because I wasn't leaving anything on the table. That's what was happening as a result of me I needed some source of income. And if retirement was the only way I could get it, then that's what I was going to do. Because I've got, as we've talked, I've got a daughter who is in veterinary school, studying to get into vet school. So she's got many more years to go. My son had just graduated and had come home to live and work in his profession, and neither my husband nor I planned on being retired at this point. So we were just kind of rolling with living. Nobody plans on being unemployed.
No, not at all. No. And so this is such an important conversation. So when we're looking at you looking for work, and we're looking at what you're experiencing with the gender gap in leadership, you had mentioned, so I'm going to actually combine these two questions, because it already discussed some of it. You mentioned that you were a finalist for some other high level roles if the positions went to men. So this question is, what patterns are you seeing and how these decisions are made? But the next question, again, education is a field full of dominated by women, but the highest leadership roles. Why do you think that's happening?
I think Yeah. So I think it's important first to recognize that in the field of education, let's talk about in the nation's 500 largest school districts,
Mhm.
only a third of the highest positions in those 500 largest school districts are held by females.
Mm.
And if you separate it by the Northeast, it's 46%.
Wow.
In the South, it's 22%. So you have a field of education nationally where 72% of it is female. But yet, in the highest positions in our field, you've got 33% that are female. So I think it's much larger than my individual experiences.
Yes. Yes.
But and it's one of those where women dominate the practice. You know,
Mm.
we're the boots on the ground and we dominate the practice, but the systems, the pipelines, and the cultural expectations are often advantageous to men. And, you know, I think that's I don't know why it's still happening. I think some of it we saw during the pandemic
Mhm.
when skill sets like relationships and instruction and cohesiveness and team building and those kinds of characteristics, which women are strong in a lot of the times.
Right.
I think that made a difference at that time and highlighted the importance of those skills. But when
Right.
you think about running a company, running a school district, um, it's it's still often thought of as a male dominated
Role.
area.
Right. And a role for men.
Mhm. Yeah.
You said something so important that I wrote it down. Do you think that women leaders are judged differently? You do think that women leaders are judged differently? That women women are expected to prove more than their male counterparts. How did you say that?
Basically, what I believe is I think that when women when women go for those higher roles in education, we've got to show that we've done the work.
Mm.
We've got to give proof. We've got to give the results for what we've done and how we've handled the situations for the role that we're applying for. Um, Men just have to show the potential or you know some sort of, and I don't want to generalize it too much because I don't have data necessarily to back that up, but I do know that in my conversations with those that will be candid with me, you know, and how interviews go, um, men just have to show a potential and here's what I would do, where
Right.
women have to be, here's what I've done and here's the results of what I've done.
Right.
um,
Right. Wow. That. Yeah. I mean, I don't think things have changed. And again, I'm only speaking from my experience, everyone. But um, I was in many male dominated um, organizations, and that's just the way it was, and I accepted it because that's just the way it was. We're almost in the year 2026, and just hearing this makes me very sad that this is still happening because we're not being represented from a quantitative percentage that we should be. So we're talking. I just want to go back about the experience, how that affected your family, especially your kids in college and your plans for retirement. Um, is this affecting your children?
Absolutely.
In what way?
Absolutely. I've got adult children and you know that one just entered the workforce.
Mhm.
And that's my boy child.
Okay.
Um, and one that is in college right now and looking to get into vet school. So looking to continue her career and expand it. And you know, she's extremely concerned. Like, how are we going to pay for veterinary school?
Mm.
You know, and I'm sure my son doesn't want to live with his parents for the rest of his life. You know,
Right.
so how is he going to be able to afford to do anything on his own? We had originally planned for, you know, my husband does a lot of things on the side, and for that we need what we feel is a larger property. And so we were house hunting prior to my job loss, and we're not now.
Yeah.
And that was gonna, we were going to have my son remain in this property, and that's not on the table right now.
Right. Right. So I have 3 more questions for you because I don't want to run out of time. These are too important. What advice would you give other high achieving women who suddenly find themselves on the sidelines, Dr. Marcy?
I think in looking back, there were a lot of times when I wasn't invited to the table specifically, and I should have made sure of it. Knowing my role in the district, I should have made a point at it. Like, I'm not going to be in the golf course conversations.
Right.
Any talk about how to improve schools or how to navigate the district that happens on the golf course, I'm not going to be in those.
Right.
Also, from a proximity standpoint, my office was up on the 2nd floor, away from all of my other counterparts, and I was with those that I supervised. So, part of it had to do with the layout of the space, but at the same time, that meant I had to make a point to go down to where, when you pass somebody's office on the way to the restroom, you can stop in and have a conversation, and a lot of things can happen that way.
Absolutely.
So I think I would I would want folks to look for opportunities to make sure that we're at the table, because the 75% of the women that are still in the classroom and they're still doing the work in education, that means that they're the ones who know how the work gets done. And that means that those voices have to be at those tables.
Right.
And I feel like, in some sense, that I could have potentially done more to add my voice, theirs, at that table, since they weren't at the table.
Right. Okay. I have 2 more questions for you. What's next for you, Dr. Marcy, and what keeps you hopeful about your future?
When I think about what's next, I'm remaining open and optimistic. I would love to go back to the public schools of North Carolina, where I have spent my entire career, and finish out. I would like to finish what I started 26 years ago. In a classroom in Eastern North Carolina.
Right.
Advocating for students. I have always worked with underserved Title I schools and students, and not that, and marginally represented students in schools. And I want to finish that work. So that's my hope, and that's what I still continue to look for. I'm still applying. I'm still looking. I'm still doing that, but I'm also staying open. I have other things that I'm working on, more of consulting, that have keep me going, not financially necessarily or specifically, but keep me engaged in the conversation and in the work.
Right.
And that's what fuels me.
Okay. So people who watch this podcast, or they know about it, a lot of them are women. A lot of them are women who support other women in many different ways. So my final question for you, Dr. Marcy, is what can this audience do for you as you search for a role that suits your executive level skills? What can we do to help you?
Oh, wow.
What do you need?
I think connection is important, and not just from a networking standpoint. I would love to network with other educators and other females that are in executive level positions and have navigated these positions before. I would love to learn from them. I would love to hear their expertise and their suggestions. And so I think that's first and foremost. And I think just making sure that we're paving the way for other women. If you hear of things, or of things, some of my best advocates for me to find positions that I've applied for have been those that have texted me and said, "Oh, I hear that this district is doing this, or you would be. I know your expertise in Title I would go well with this particular position, or here's a coaching position for schools. This is perfect for you.
Okay.
Just letting other women know and supporting each other,
Right.
I think is huge.
Right. Okay. Well, so as far as connecting, that's something that we do great in the best way ever as community with women. But to reach out to Dr. Marcy Roan on LinkedIn, that would be number one. And if you forget her name, reach out to me, Kim Allen, from the podcast, because I can also introduce you to her. But Dr. Marcy, I just wanted to wish you all the best, but I really want to thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. It was so important that we hear your story. I do believe that you are going to be successful, but I also know that you need to go from here to there, right? I'm trying to do this in the camera. And, it's not as easy as just like waving a hand, like, oh, you're going to find a job. Well, I mean, you're a winner. You are going to find work. But at the same time, we need to care for each other. So again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You're a terrific guest.
Well, thank you. And I am so happy to see that someone's doing this work for women, and just championing the cause. So from me and from my dogs, we thank you greatly for this experience.
Thank you so much. So after I thank my guests, I always have a couple asks for my audience. And my next ask is to pay it forward, to please open doors for other women, support other women in whatever their needs are. Look at Dr. Marcy. She has a situation right now, and she needs to find a position that's equal to her immense experience. Those jobs are out there, but unless we know, and unless we know that we can share them with her, she's not going to know that. So always pay it forward and open the doors for the other women, whether they're young, whether they're your peers. All right. We are not living in the day of kicking down brick walls to get things done. I think it's much easier to just open the door for one another. And also to always watch for my upcoming episodes of the Fabulous Women Podcast Studio for additional women who are going to be bringing their amazing stories to the table. And if anyone sees my logo, I always hold it up. Here's my note card, but I always like to show everyone my really pretty logo. But at the bottom, which I'm really proud of, it says, to inspire today, to empower tomorrow. And I really do believe in that. So until next episode, everyone, stay fabulous. Bye now.